What do you find most fascinating about men, ladies? Story 1. Men actually adjust themselves by sticking their hands in their pants and doing so casually that you don't even realize they're doing it. Story 2. They don't just move. It's strange that they do that without thinking about it. They simply react to things. I compared to Story 3. What do you put in your pockets, and why do you need such deep pockets in your jeans? My jeans can't hold my phone, but my male friend's jeans can hold a Nintendo Switch and a 3DS in the same pocket. He also has his keys, phone wallet, and a small bottle of handkerchiefs. The crazy thing is that they can't even feel them moving most of the time while they're watching a lava lamp. Wait till you see my 6-pocket cargo pants Story 4 to realize that true men are always ready. Like folks who tap the top of a drink can or whatever before opening it. Why do so many men hit our lady parts with their meat before sticking it in? It's rude to enter without knocking first. Story 5. This one is so versatile and soft that you can just throw it around for fluffy fun. Story 6. For the ladies who are wondering if it floats, I have a story about it. A few years ago, I was taking a bath in a river with friends when my crush showed up. The problem is that I was wearing casual underwear because I was too lazy to buy. Another issue is that the water was low at one point, and I was lying down in the water while we were chatting casually. Suddenly, my crush said something mysterious, like, "Hey, is everything okay?" in a winky way, and I could see where she was looking. I apologized, and I resolved the issue by sitting down and getting my underwear, so yes, it does float. In fact, when I married my husband, he told me that when he got his wedding band, the men's department was hardly more than a corner of the jeweler. I started to notice it more in most department stores I visit, where there is a greater selection. But it seems like men are supposed to be content with fewer fashion options. I feel bad for my husband if he ever wanted to test it out, because it might be related to the fact that women make 70 to 80% of all purchases. Story 8. I love man hikes because it feels great to be squished into their chest and have their arms around me. Story 9. When they lie down motionless, but their balls are doing body rolls, that is amazing. Check out Story 10 to see how laid back they can be. Certain situations, in my case, I feel like I'm constantly overanalyzing, and my brain is constantly buzzing, also make me wonder how easily some people can put themselves in potentially fatal situations for amusement or fun. How is that an adrenaline thing? And do the basic survival instincts shut down out of boredom? I completely agree that girls texting each other is a sign of stupidity, while guys will say things like, "I bet I could scale that skyscraper" or something, and do more foolish things. Story 11 is more humorous. I find it fascinating that guys are constructed so differently from women. They are bigger, wider, hairier, and generally rougher. Sometimes I can't stop staring at my lover and comparing him to my body. I'm amazed at how men move, deal with situations, act, and interact with their significant other. I can't get enough of how cute it is to see how attractive men's bodies are. I know that not all men have Adonis-like physiques, but that makes Story 12 even more fascinating to me. I don't think I'm very good at being the big spoon, but I think it's so adorable and fascinating that I want to be a good big spoon to my guy, who is twice my size. I wonder whether most men enjoy being the little spoon. Story 13. Do you feel what it's like to live with additional pieces in your pants? I find their voices to be incredibly fascinating, and I can't pick you up, but you can throw me in the air like it's nothing, even though I'm fat. I don't mean to brag, but it did open a world. They are always or just when there's trouble or aroused, and when it's really hot or you're hiking. How uncomfortable is that? Story 14. Pickle jar for my mom earlier today, so Story 15 is fascinating. They believe that most men don't care about porn, but they focus on the most nebulous things and support and confront situations when necessary. It's as if they have parts of their brains dedicated to being the present, and most women, including me, would lose their composure and then return to the issue at hand, find a solution, and then lose their composure. It's almost funny. In addition, if you were unaware, my friends and I recently introduced Rufus rugs, which are high-end custom hand-tufted rugs. Perhaps you're a Naruto fan who wants to flaunt it, or perhaps you're a Pokemon fan who wants bus toys on display for everyone. In any case, we can. To read more about Narrative 16, click the first link in the description. You can make practically anything. Story 17 is similarly fascinating and enraged, but the common sense is significantly different from my common sense. The reason they appear to be carefree most of the time is because they're thinking about some stupid. I was just wondering if I could fight a mountain lion with that bar stool. I bet I could use a sturdy metal stool to block him. Then I leaped behind the bar and struck him square in the face with a drink hose. Cats detest getting wet, so yes, I could definitely take him. Random stuff, what are you thinking about? Nothing, come on, you have to be thinking of something fine. Narrative 18. The tailor used to ask which side you wore your pants, essentially asking which side your dangling parts fell to, back when more men went to tailors for their suits. I'm not sure why, but when you put on pants, where do you go? Does it go down by a leg, or does it just kind of move around? I love it when men have big beards, hairy underarms, and a hairy chest and belly. It's my favorite thing about men, and I love nothing more than cuddling up to a hairy man if you want him to howl and be a bad boy. How are all the men out there going for walks without pepper spray? Therefore, you'd better hope that tonight is a full moon. Story 21. How do they shop for clothes? Is it the same as how women generally shop, or is it a totally different process? Story 22. How do they avoid overanalyzing things? Well, me and other women just overthink a simple text on Discord or WhatsApp, and men don't give a frick. Interesting tale number 23. Before I met my husband, I had no knowledge about growers or showers. My spouse is a grower, and I find it amazing when it grows. I imagine it would feel amazing if I were a guy who told me to urinate constantly. I often recognize that there's a male friend's lack of emotional support, or how different they are when discussing major life changes, breakups, drives, etc. is really nauseating. Usually, alcohol is involved when there is any emotion, so I always try to look past what they say and just observe how they act. I can see the suffering, and it's awful to hear men constantly say they don't think it's acceptable to talk about. I wish emotions had nothing to do with masculinity, even though the hearing parties were with open hands. Is there any way I could support them without interfering or making them feel like they're losing control? A simple, meaningless compliment can brighten a man's day. It's like, hey, someone thinks you're worth something. Story 25. How do men avoid sitting on there? How do they position their testicles when riding a bicycle? Story 26. How much they endure without others knowing about it. Story 27. Can men pee while hard if they take off over a toilet bowl and release? I can't even count the number of times a guy has told me that he can't cry because that would make him seem weak. They're full bladder simultaneously, but it can happen separately or simultaneously, and if you keep finishing over and over again, it can physically stop producing. Why are men afraid of moaning? Do they even realize that their sounds, from breathing to a faint grunt, are the most erotic thing? That's another question I've been dying to ask. The question has been bothering me ever since I read it in a fanfiction piece. I'm positive that a man has dipped it in a glass of Coke somewhere, and as a woman with a vag that has a very delicate balance in there, I'd prefer not to. What would it feel like to stick it in something carbonated, like a fizzy drink, with the bubbles making the entire thing tangle nicely, or would it feel like absolute hell? Risk infection to discover the solution, and it appears that someone wants to experience it firsthand. In light of that, nothing would be more flattering to me than for you to enjoy my videos and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Now, let's get back to story 28. I'm curious how you guys responded when your PP became difficult and you became aware of it for the first time. If you like someone, tell them how they don't know we like them and hold on to every word. Story 29 shows how people can act foolishly and not recognize it. Why must it be so pleasant to men? Their skin is amazing, even with little usage of skincare products. They have gorgeous brows and long eyelashes. It's scorching, by the way, and story 31 shows how their gaze can occasionally hit you square in the face. Perhaps we're just staring at you that way because you have something on your teeth. Story 32. Why is the room always gloomy while you're taking pictures of yourself? I don't know where you're from, but most men don't feel comfortable looking for other men's dogs. I'm not really into that idea, even for research purposes. Story 33. Do men pee more slowly than women, or vice versa? Story 34. Do you want to vent your frustrations? Feelings. Story 35. Why do men follow so many random girls they don't know without ever texting them to get to know them? I know the answer. It's the art of virtual admiration. Story 36. Why do men put their hands down the front of their pants while watching TV or movies? I've seen this in a lot of places, but the responses were mainly shrugs or I like it, but is it really a protective thing, a fidget spinner habit, or what? Was story 37. Their bonus could happen at any time, and they're really strange but fascinating. They chat about impromptu surprises. Narrative 38, the computer games they play, and what sort of dog do they have, of course. Story 39. How childlike are they? Story 40. Men seem to be the most childish of all people, both in positive and negative ways. It doesn't matter how old they are. They're always kids to me. Why do so many men favor navy blue? Navy is great. It goes with practically everything. Narrative 41. I occasionally ask my husband to set aside an hour or two of his time to talk about regal topics, such as men's bathroom etiquette, social posturing, and what it's like to think about nothing at all for long stretches of time. Story 42. How do guys act with crushes? Imagine how different men's romantic feelings are from one another. Many guys have two types of crushes: the physical kind, where you want to hit that attraction, and the essential kind, where you want to spend every moment of your life with this person. Story 43. Shopping for guys is about the result, not the process. We don't go just to look at something or to buy it, because what's the point in? That basically means that I know what I want to buy and have a mental list of places I want to go to buy that item. For instance, I go to the jeans store, the suit store, etc. to buy jeans. If I like what I find, I buy it. If not, I go home or to the pub. This means that the actual time spent is minimized so that we can spend more time doing. Story 44. Something else. The fact that you guys don't even wipe your man's head after urinating, and you want us to include it in a mouth. Tale 45 shows how they deal with their emotions, what they do to cope, why they act the way they do, and why they don't feel embarrassed to change their appearance in public. Is it really that difficult to get it in the toilet? Sometimes when it first comes out, it can start spraying in an unexpected direction, which causes a moment of "oh crap" as you try to get it back on course. This is also part of the reason why men's bathrooms are always covered in urine. Do they realize that other people can see them? Our senses all have a tendency to focus on one thing, which is why we frequently look off into the distance at random. I believe this is innate because so many people will risk their careers, reputations, and personal wealth just to have sex with us. Story 48. Other ears only tend to work if their eyes are also focused on the same thing. I'm not sure if this is a male-only behavior, but I don't know a boy who doesn't do this and a girl who does. Hunter's Instinct Story 49. Why do all the guys I've ever met call their non-family members members of their family? They say their friends are the fathers or brothers, and even gay guys call others sisters. Narrative 50. I've always wondered what it's like for men with hairy backs. Do they feel warm? Do they feel a hair? Is it itchy? There are so many questions. Story 51. The balls are always moving. If you look closely, they resemble a miniature version of Alien vs. Predator. And even though I'm a guy, I still find it amazing how it happens all the time. I rarely notice or feel anything though. Story 52. Can you guys just dump us and give us no explanation for what's happening there? 5 years ago, I was dumped without warning, and everything was going well until the night before the dumping, when he cuddled me all night long, stroking my hair and telling me how special I was. The following evening, he simply ended things. Gave no explanation other than to deal with it. Story 53. Does it hurt when you go on a water slide in your stomach? Story 54. When men say they're thinking of nothing at all, I can't even begin to imagine how amazing it is to have nothing on your mind instead of 1,000 things vying for your attention. Sometimes you say we're thinking of nothing because there's a lot. Story 55. Why do they feel intimidated by me, or why do they initially show interest but then give up? Do they find anything that moves interesting? Story 56. My guy is strange. He told me he was drunk once while eating me out. This is easier than explaining what we're actually thinking, which is usually something completely random. And he began idly brainstorming various smoothie recipes. I thought, what's Story 57? How can they poop without touching the toilet's water with a pee-pee? Just how long do you think it's weird that they touch the toilet? That thing where men say they're going to sleep, and they're often dreamland before they finish saying good. I'm furious that he's snoring, which is annoying. Story 59. Where do you all get the audacity to do that? We usually get it at the local 7-Eleven, which is actually Story 60. How are you not obsessively reliving everything that has ever happened in pre-living? What's worse if we are fighting? Their willy's ability to fold. I wonder if that applies to all males or just my friend's Story 61 back when it's soft. Is it difficult to not be able to communicate your feelings of sorrow or sadness to others? I've seen that males tend to simply go when they're unhappy or devastated, and sometimes I want to be there, but I'm not sure because everyone handles suffering differently. I usually try to support my male friends, but I've discovered that they'd rather to be left alone and discuss it later. I can get the anger and frustration, but I also see how discussing it after helping Story 62 could come across as cruel. The male culture's neurotic drive to have several sexual encounters at once is disgusting. I hope some of your questions were addressed. I completely agree with Story 15. Story 63 with entry. You typically know how to be respectful and responsible despite having different genders, so I do the same thing to them. It's a bonus that Sophie and I have something in common. If you have the time and have progressed this far, you could verify which myth regarding males is completely false. You'll be exposed for it.